also watch
No,
the way
not that ball! No,
everyone
no, no,
is
no,
going to try to get the
no,
ball.
no,
Somebody has
guys,
to out their life to stay
guys,
hard and hard
yeah,
enough,
two
and
feet,
it
what's
happens to
two
be
feet?
very
No, let go!
Focus,
Oh, God, time!
Thank you!
Get in!
The victory box just
One, two! Shut up!
Can't sit anymore!
Go through my yes!
I can't see
Yes! Yes!
The regular season of the Overwatch League is now in the history books. After 20 weeks of intense high-level Overwatch, 6 teams remain with a chance at the regular season title, so let's just cut all the intro stuff and see how they're all doing, shall we?
6.
Congrats, Philly. After giving your city a collective heart attack by losing to the Outlaws, you were able to defeat the Spitfire, slamming the door on the playoff picture once and for all. At least that's what you would have done if the Outlaws and Dynasty hadn't choked themselves out of the playoff picture the day before, making the game meaningless by season playoff standards. But hey, you still won. This is the streakiest team in the Overwatch League by far, so 6th place feels right for them. One week they're taking the Excelsior to 5 maps, and the next they're taking the Dragons to 5 maps. This makes them a playoff wildcard, potentially an easy out, but if they catch fire at the right time, everyone will be scared. Unless they've been saving Fraggy and Poco for the playoffs, it looks like we're stuck watching the Sato Hotba show for the foreseeable future, which has yielded mixed results so far. I personally don't see what's so bad about having your Reinhardt main play Reinhardt maps at least. Boombox has also been an area of concern due to his poor Transcendence usage recently, but hopefully that's an easy fix. In the end though, this team lives and dies by the fish. Carpe is their MVP player, the guy who puts the team on his back and straight up dominates a fight. Sometimes Carpe just decides to not miss a shot for a while, and there's nothing the opposing team can do about it. EQO will always be a solid performer, but this team could be in a position where they need Carpe to pop off to have success. It's a dangerous formula, but Stage 2 has shown us the highs that this team can hit.
5.
Man, what happened to you guys? While the Spitfire haven't fallen as far as, say, the Dynasty, their season was still a bit of a disappointment compared to where people were rating them at the start of the season. Yes, this team won Stage 1, but they haven't been able to capture that form since. In fact, they've decayed with every stage, not even making up stage playoffs in Stage 2. That's not to say that the Spitfire don't have a lot going for them. Prophet has been the flex DPS that teams dream about, Jester and Fury make up an extremely strong tank line, and Bedosian is capable of rivaling Jonak when he's on his game. This makes their decline even more confusing considering the raw talent on this team. Birdring is a cause for concern. He just hasn't been able to catch that dominant Widow play that made him an MVP candidate in Stage 1. Other than that, Spitfire have been prone to coaching confusion all season, swapping players in and out seemingly at random. They did it so much that they had to straight up get rid of 4 players just so they can stop. It's like continuously taking cookies from the cookie jar, even though that you shouldn't, and then deciding to throw them all out just to stop yourself. The cookies are still good. They could still be useful, just control yourself. This team is a shell of their former selves right now, but they're still incredibly dangerous. A run for the crown is still possible, but to get there, they have to beat a team that they have never beaten before.
4.
Look, I could do what everyone else in the world is doing right now and say that Fissure is the one reason the Gladiators are so good. And while I agree, he is the transfer of the season and was able to turn this team from low to mid-tier into playoff contenders, he could only do so much on his own. The Gladiators have been steadily improving all season, from 4 to 6 in Stage 1 to just missing the Stage 2 playoffs, making it in Stage 3, finishing first in Stage 4. This wasn't just Fissure, it was a commitment in the entire team to improve and work together to succeed. It has paid massive dividends. Fissure is, of course, one of the best tanks in the game, and even though Surefour has declined a bit from his Stage 3 prowess, he and Hydration are an extremely scary DPS duo, as well as Shaz and Big Goose being one of the most underrated support duos in the league. The team's biggest question mark is in their off-tank. Bishu plays a huge role in this team, but only really has a good diva. Void was brought on to take up Zarya duties, but it has really been hit and miss. If he can step up, then this team has no obvious holes. It's also worth mentioning that the Gladiators are the only team in the playoffs that haven't won a stage semi-final match. They seem to have London's number, but can they choke when the lights are at their brightest?
3,
Despite their late winning streak, I don't think many people would argue with me if I said that Boston is stumbling into the playoffs instead of rolling into it. They have struggled immensely to adapt to a meta without Winston or Tracer, and have been forced to switch their DPSs. Striker is now the Widowmaker in town, and while he is definitely an improvement over Mistakes, I'm not quite convinced that he's on par with the top Widowmakers in the league quite yet. This has left Mistakes to flex onto heroes like Tracer, Junkrat, and Hanzo, and it just makes me wish that the team could just clone Striker, because then the DPS core would be set. Everywhere else on the team, Gansu is a great Winston, but his Rein doesn't hold up as well. Kalios' Zarya was disappointing for a guy who was brought on as a Zarya one-trick. Their support line seems good, at least. Neko and Aimgod are both good options on the Zen, and Kellex has his moments, and is usually a good Mercy. However, this team desperately needs someone to step up the Carpe if they want to advance to the semifinals, and I have my doubts about Striker and Mistakes. But if this team can bring back its Stage 3 form, then anything is possible.
2,
The Valiant deserve tons of credit. After their rough patch in Stage 2, many people, including me, thought the Valiant were on their way straight to the dumpsters of In-N-Out. However, this team made a flurry of moves between stages, signing new players, releasing old ones, getting a new coach, and it worked. Custa is now on the team, giving the Valiant great in-game leadership. Space turned 18, and he makes one of the greatest tank lines in the league along with Fate. Bunny is signed to be a devastating Tracer player who can take over an entire game if the enemy doesn't deal with him. Turns out he's a pretty good Widowmaker as well. And soon in Agility's grind, and all of a sudden they're outperforming the New York's DPS. The team won the Stage 4 title and are riding high going into the playoffs. Soon in Agilities do have to keep up their level of play. They're both prone to falling silent during entire maps becoming largely ineffective, which could cost their team the playoffs. Questions of overconfidence are also beginning to swirl. Could the Valiant be their own undoing?
1,
Here they are, the kings, the big bosses, the favorites to win the entire thing. The Excelsior have been dominant all season long. They've made it to the final match of each stage and won twice, taking the title for stages 2 and 3. I really do have to thank Monty though for constantly reminding me that the XL are indeed sandbagging, saving their strategies for this moment. I could not be more ready for the sandbags to be removed Dragon Ball style, revealing an incredibly strong Excelsior beneath. I mean, what is there not to love about this team? Each and every one of their starters is in the discussion for being the best at what they do. Mono and Meko are an insane tank line. SBB, Libero, and Pine are all top DPS, even at the Overwatch League level. And their supports? Do I even have to say anything? Jornak is practically a 4th world-class DPS, as Zenyatta. Ark and Animo are both incredible Mercies who never seem to die. New York is stacked. Of course, with all the surprises of this year, you can't forget the lore behind this. The core of the Excelsior are made up of LW Blue, a team that was known to be very good, but constantly choked when it was all on the line. Could this come back to haunt them again? Like I said, any of these teams could walk away with the title, but I'm gonna have to be stereotypical here and say it's an Excelsior vs Gladiators final with the Excelsior taking it all. When you look at the players on this team, there's just too much for anyone else to handle. New York has been #1 all season, and in my opinion, they deserve the crown. However, if anyone else take them down, I would also be really happy. I just hope we get to see some good Overwatch instead of a bunch of blowouts. What do you think? Let me think what you think of this video and your picks in the comments below, or you could join my Discord and fill out a bracket of your own, link in the description. Until next time guys, don't get tilted. Peace!